Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Krisstina.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, yesterday's presentation by Marty was a great way to cap off the day. I loved the historical perspective because really, we're all students of this business, and the changes that are occurring here over the past few years are just, in my opinion, seismic. That's my word. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay, so today we're going to take everything that we talked about yesterday and all the need to change and come up with some ideas. So we hope to walk out of here today with at least 25 ideas. We actually already have 5. Some of you had responded to some of the ideas that we requested, and we'll see what we come up with. But my cartoons aren't quite as graphic as Marty's, but I think prove the point. Take a look. Does this person work for you? Because one of the challenges that we find out there, and we talked about it yesterday, is all of us in here know we have to reinvent the industry, reinvent ourselves, but sometimes we have people like this working for us. So Krisstina, how do we deal with that person?
Fire them.
Which one? The guy with the modem, the crazy guy. So that's part of the challenges, and I asked a question to Pam and the RE/MAX folks at Prudential and Sherry yesterday. In their particular situation, because they're driving these big cruise ships, it's really, really tough because you've got so many people to deal with, and so I know you're doing a great job in trying to attempt to do that. The smaller companies, though, have an easier job in doing that, and that's what we want to talk about today, come up with ideas, because the dynamics of our industry right now are quite depressing, right, Krisstina? What are you doing about that?
Well, let's talk about that in a minute.
Okay, because she's postponing the answer. So here's the reason that we have to change. Going through the historical perspective, nothing that's happening right now is going to dramatically change over the next few years. So the market is going to be relatively flat, okay? And we have this gap between the expectations that consumers and agents have of us and the innovation that we've delivered as an industry. I think somebody said it yesterday, we've spent the last 5 years just surviving and making sure that we can make it to the next month, the next quarter, and we're not innovating. And so that gap right there is what needs to be filled. And one of the reasons that we're here today to talk about these ideas is to figure out how to fill that gap. Krisstina is an ex-top agent for Keller Williams, and she left Keller Williams how long ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Started a company in the midst of all this mess and is growing pretty well. Tell us how.
Well, I left yesterday. First of all, I'm new to this. At my company, I'm a boutique brokerage here in Austin. It's called the Good Life Team. And we're new to the market. I left the big box brokerage that I spent 12 years of my career doing as a top performing agent, I guess, is the way to describe that. And anyway, I left here yesterday because I come to learn from you because you all have been in the industry through the ups and downs, and so I'm taking notes and I'm listening. And because you are the true experts, you've proven it, and I'm new. I haven't proven anything. So I went home and I called my office and I said, I have some really good news. They're like, what, how was it? And I said, well, if everything that they're saying was true yesterday, or if everything they're saying is true today, we're in really good shape because we're building our entire company with exactly the way everybody talked about yesterday in the room from 8 until 5. So what we're doing is we're building a company. My company is called the Good Life Team. We won the Inman Innovator of the Year for Brokerage Award, which was an accomplishment we're really proud of because we've worked really hard over the last 2 years working to predict where things are going and then building a true model and structure to take care of the concerns of the customers moving into the future. One thing that we look at with our brokerage, for example, when everybody was talking about yesterday, consumer, my client is the Good Life Team is the consumer. So we directly as a company market to, generate leads from, talk to, convert everything directly with the customer. And then I have the agent as the customer as well. And then when we talk about brand promise from yesterday, my brand promise is to the consumer. And the brand promise is if you, the consumer, come into contact with the Good Life Team brand, online, offline, in person, gossip in the marketplace, it is known as an organization of professionals, and it's an organization of professional real estate experts. And we take care of the concerns of our customers as a brand. And my goal is I want people to recognize the Good Life brand like the way we think about Apple. Meaning if we, and I love Apple, I love the product, I love the company, but when I go to Apple, I trust the brand Apple, and then when I go to the guru store, as I call it, it doesn't matter if I talk to Sally today and Joe tomorrow. When I go in there, I trust Apple, and I know that they're going to have the experts to help me take care of what I'm going in there for. And I think that we need to do the same thing with real estate. Why? Because as it was said again yesterday, the consumers are in control. And so I claim, and where I'm building my brokerage from, is that what we're experiencing right now, what I've experienced as a producer myself, because I'm not selling anymore, but I'm in it with my agents every single day, is what I'm noticing, and what my own agents would tell you is they think is true as well, is we're moving into an environment. What's happening is we're moving into a global marketplace. And what I mean by global marketplace is that we in real estate, we're no exception to this, in that there's global market standards being set for all of us as consumers, that when we go on Amazon, we expect to have a certain experience. When we go to Google, we expect to have a certain experience. When we're on Facebook, we expect to have a certain experience. And the technology and how we all as consumers interact with that is what we expect. And the real estate agent industry is not giving it to them. They're going on to crappy websites. They're going and they're, like what Marty was saying yesterday, they might have one agent, great agent, and a crappy agent the next day. And I don't think consumers are going to tolerate that anymore. So we're at the very infancy of this, but we have a lot of proof to say that it's working already. Moving forward, we have on the slides here is, number one, our agents have to become more productive. They have to become professionals, and our brands have to mean something to the marketplace. And I think that we have to get closer to the industry ourselves as brokers and work with our agents. Part of what is happening, and what I see happening, is that because we're in this global marketplace standard, and because we're moving and the consumers move to the web, we used to historically, if buyers or sellers had to find information about real estate, where did they go? 5 years ago, where'd they go? They had to go to a real estate agent. Like it or not, the only way to get reliable information was to call a real estate agent. Well, moving into the future, who wants to call a real estate agent? Where do we all go first to get any information? We're all online. So the game has moved from our local neighborhoods, so to speak. It's still a local industry, that's not what I mean, but it's moved from a local industry to the games online. And this is what I mean by online. And what I see is I see these real estate agents, and I'm going to Inman, I'm going to all these conferences, and I have these agents that come up to me in droves, just saying, oh my gosh, I need help, I need help. And so I'm noticing this also as I'm just on the road. And what they're experiencing is that the global marketplace that we're in right now, it's too complicated for one real estate agent. We have an industry of 1.2 million independent contractors running around trying to figure this stuff out themselves. And it's too big, meaning we expect one real estate agent in our office to figure out mobile. Who in this room, and smart people in this room, who in here has completely figured out mobile all by themselves? We expect them to figure out website, plus not mobile alone in a silo, but mobile plus a website. Who in here has figured out how to build and keep current dynamic content website blog sites with WordPress? Anybody that can do mobile really well plus website really well? Smartest people in the industry in this room, can we do it? Oh, and then let's see, there's this hyper-localized content that has to be delivered all the time. Now, who in this room is figured out the mobile, figured out a blog site, figured out how to deliver hyper-localized content that's very consumer-facing focused in this room? And I can go on. And then there's a CRM thing, and then leads come in. Now, who in this room has a CRM and knows how to work their mobile and interface with the consumer, drop those leads in their database, convert those leads to their database, then call them and turn them into a client, then drive them around and show them a house, and then write a contract? Oh, and then there's DocuSign, and I have to figure out how to do it online because the consumers expect that it's going to be over their mobile device and not over a fax machine anymore. It's lunacy. And we as a brokerage industry have got to realize I'm with my agents every day. So what we do as a brokerage and how we're doing all that stuff for them. And I have 100% buy-in on every single technology and tool. Why? Because they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice because I don't give them a choice. And they don't have a choice because if they don't do what I say they're doing, they're going to fail. Except for the exceptions. So as we're moving forward, and what we want to talk about today and start out the conversation is, when we go back to our offices, what are we going to do differently? We can all sit up here and talk on stage and say, oh yeah, it's about the consumer. Oh yeah, things are shifting. Oh yeah, people are on the web. But what are we going home and doing about it as leaders of this industry? And I'm just raising my hand and said, I'm going to do my best to do something about it. And I'll succeed or fail, and who knows, because it's too early to tell. But I challenge our whole industry that let's raise the bar. Let's get back into, people were saying basics yesterday, and I don't really know what that means. But I have another saying, and my saying is, let's get back into brokerage. Let's be about real estate. Let's be about consumers. Meaning, I don't know how franchise organizations are changed when their economic models are about royalties off the top, because those models get paid on the 2 agents that sell a house a year. And when you take 2 agents that sell a house a year times 80,000 agents, those are big MIG numbers. So I just look at it and say the entire industry needs to be reinvented, and I think that it's the people in this room that can go back and do something. And we just want to start off get a bunch of ideas so that we can do that.
And she's real fired up, man, I tell you what. But we all should be fired up like her. Now, of course, she has an advantage that she started, like Sherry did, with a clean slate, right? So, you know, she doesn't have some of the issues that some of you have. But at the end of the day, here's what's happening. There's an emerging brokerage paradigm that starts with the broker having to reinvent him or herself. What credibility will you have with your managers and with your agents, or for that matter, with the marketplace itself, if you aren't completely buying into these things, like Krisstina says? I mean, I hear it all the time. I'm traveling all over the country, like Steve, you know, consulting with a lot of companies, and you know, people say it sounds good, but are they really doing it? And one of the things that I've heard actually years ago from a big executive at a big company said to me, Jose, you know what the problem is with our industry? The agents are afraid of the consumer, so they cave on the commission. The managers are afraid of the agent, so they cave on the split. And the owner is afraid of the manager, so he just doesn't hold them accountable. You got to hold your people accountable. You got to get fired up, and you got to make these changes. You have to reinvent yourself and your management team so that you can take it down to the agents. You have to have an engaging web presence. Obviously, as we all talk about, consumers online, you have to understand how to drive that traffic to your website, how to engage that consumer online, how to respond to it. I mean, one of the scariest things to me in the industry right now is 48% of agents don't respond to internet leads. And the other 52% respond 2 or 3 days later, and yet we're talking about the consumer being online, and yet we're leaving them hanging. So it's like Krisstina said, it's lunacy. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to have an interactive session. We have 5 groups here, completely randomly selected, to come up with 5 ideas each. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically break up as we've already done. Each group's going to have 30 minutes to discuss 5 different topics, come up with 5 ideas for 5 topics, meaning we're going to have 25 ideas come up. So we'll spend 10 minutes talking about a topic, okay? And then somebody from that group will present their 5 ideas, and then we'll go to the next topic. And so here are the topics, okay? What are you doing to reinvent yourself and your team? This is my favorite question. Because, you know, again, the words sound good, but what are you really, really doing? So one of the ideas, and we went out and solicited ideas, you know, ahead of time. Debbie sent out an email, and several of you responded. So one of the ideas that I got from Kevin Kaplan, as far as how we're reinventing our company, is, okay, we started a short sale division, okay? So that's one idea, okay? So you've already got 5 coming up here. The next topic is, what are you doing to create an engaging web presence? So one of the ideas we got was from Carrie, from KW, and what they're doing. And you know, so you're going to be passing all these out later on, right? So I don't have to worry about taking notes? Okay. Okay, next topic is going to be how you driving and responding to internet traffic. Ed wants to talk about having a call center for his agents, which I think is a wonderful idea. Again, to Kristina's point, the more things we can do to take out of the hands of the agents because they are either not capable or don't have time or whatever, or not good at it, the better we're going to do for them and the happier they should be and the happier the consumer is going to be. Here's another great area of opportunity. What are you doing to build a bench strength? I'm working with a company right now who's got, the average age of their managers is 60, 62 years old. They have no bench strength. So as those people retire, what are they going to do? All right, so nobody's talking about that. Gino does a great job of creating a culture of accountability within Intero's organization, and that is in and of itself creating bench strength because people want to become managers at Intero. Okay, then the last topic will be how do you recruit the agent of the future? And who is it? Oh, yeah, Diane Turden talked about, somebody did a typo in there, sorry, Diane, talked about a coach that they've brought in to work with their agents, which is going to help them recruit the agent in the future, because again, coaching is very important right now. So as people see that you have all these things, an engaging web presence, you have an internet marketing strategy that makes sense, you're responding to internet leads, they're going to want to work for your company. So we'll start now with the first topic. What are you doing to reinvent yourself? We have 10 minutes. Come up with 5 ideas, and then we'll present them all after that. Any questions? Good. Get to work. Yeah. All right. Topic number 1. What are you doing to reinvent yourself and your team? Who's going to speak in this group? Group number 3. We're going to take all the, by the way, we're jotting down all these ideas and we'll distribute them later on. Who's speaking?
We disappointed Pam.
Well, I don't know that we have a single one idea, but I think what we really were focusing on are 2 or 3 themes that, you don't have to be the biggest, and the main thing is you've got to believe in whatever your model is, and that could be anything, but you've got to believe in it, and you've got to be there 100%, and you've got to be communicating that. And at the end of the day, we do think it's all about standards and consistency, that you have something that is everybody can count on, they can hang their hat on, and that really means that every office functions the same way, so that everybody understands what page they're on. And then the other area is more specialization. Michael used the example in his company of where now they've got certain managers who are, I guess you'd call them deal troubleshooters. Then you have others that are coaching people, and then you have others that are strictly recruiting. So it's really going to your strengths and figuring out exactly what makes sense there. Then, and a couple other thoughts were just refreshing your brand periodically, constantly renewing that. So I think were those the key things? Okay.
That's great. A question for the group, because I think it's interesting what Michael's doing. Should we still call them managers?
Leaders.
Leaders? Yeah. And Taro calls them leaders, right, Gino? I think Ad Properties calls them performance coaches. Yeah. Okay. Next group, number 4.
That's great.
Yep.
Boy, I turned quick. Is it on? Can you hear me now? Okay, so some of them Pam said. One of the things that somebody said in the group is rather than reinventing yourself, you always continually change and evolve. So it's a constant reinvention every day, every week, every month. I thought that was interesting. We talked about a lot of the organizations now, or real estate companies, are beginning to have licensing holding companies. So talking about those agents yesterday that are not producing to the standards that we want them to be, rather than kick them out because they want their license, put them in that holding company, let them get a day job and layer their income. Let's teach them how to have different revenue streams, if you will, but have those leads come into our agents. Pulling back on print advertising and becoming better at their websites, reinventing that in such a way that it is consumer focused and there is that hyper-localized information that will continue to draw consumers to them. And then we talked about specialization in terms of short sales division that somebody had said earlier, and then rentals for some of the markets. And consistent branding was something that was a favorite in this group, that we need to take control of that again and become the brand and all unite together. So that was
how would you do that?
Which part?
Reunite the brand part.
Well, you got to set those standards, and you've got, like the person was saying yesterday from Windermere, you've got to set your colors, set your standards, set your fonts, all those things. And I think Chip was saying that all of their agents have to bring everything through a central resource before it goes out, so that they can ensure that they maintain that quality of that brand.
Great. All right, next group. I bet Eric is going to be the speaker, right?
Yes.
Why am I not surprised?
All right, so we came up with 5. The first would be Diane's. She brought in what I would call a productivity coach. In other words, working with the agents on a one-on-one basis, and then there's a program that the agents signed up for a year-long engagement to see if their productivity actually increased. The key is this guy, he usually deals outside the real estate industry, Fortune 500 companies, but he only gets paid if actually the productivity goes up. So it's sort of a pay for performance thing, so it's pretty good. The idea of bringing in a real-time or continuing feedback loop for agent feedback to figure out what's in the field, especially for larger brokerages, that's a big deal because you can't actually engage. With Baird & Warner, we have 24 offices. I can't be in all 24 offices, so what are the things that you can do? You can do surveys, you can start up private groups through the social media channels and all this kind of stuff to get a constant feedback loop, so you sort of have your boots on the ground information coming in and then delivering products and services based upon that kind of a feedback. Changing the brand look and feel, so subtly migrating things over time to refresh the brand look in terms of new imagery, different kinds of slogans, perhaps changing colors slightly, moving into, obviously, to appeal to sort of the younger recruit, if you will, and younger consumer out there. Consider I would say not a personnel change, but more the idea that an overly dictatorial CMO, overly dictatorial CIO, overly dictatorial person who's running silos in terms of controlling too much infrastructure that operates as a roadblock to fulfilling sort of the vision of marketing and business results, and thinking of looking at that as more of a team approach, sort of what we're doing at Baird & Warner. So we have 4 people handling what used to be handled under this CIO rubric, and it's actually quite powerful in the sense that you have 4 different brains looking at an issue, always with the consumer and the agents in mind, to make sure that that you're delivering something that's meaningful. The idea of CRM, rapidly changing CRM focus and integrating all the social channels into it, and then being able to, more importantly, track the results of those social channels through the life cycle of a lead to engagement to final closing. So I think that's sort of what we came up with.
Great stuff. Ken? Okay.
Yeah, June's our leader, and in using the philosophy of why keep a dog and bark yourself, the 3 of us are going to report on our ideas. One of the things when you have a small brokerage and you're the manager and you can be hands-on, when you get a scalable solution with multiple offices, sometimes you'll find managers become either filters or amplifiers. And so you have a message and they filter it out, especially that modem chucking manager that we saw in that cartoon. So we have Champion 411. It's a video streaming newsletter. That way the company message comes out. It's 5 minutes long, once a week. Have about 65% of my agents look every week, and it's a great way to get the company message out.
I'm subscribing. So we definitely agree that the manager's role is just too broad and it's too big for a manager to recruit, to train, technician. So we've broken down our management roles and we've created localized, hyper-local team leaders. And we designate somebody who we think has potential to grow in the organization. We make them a team leader for a specific community, and they get compensated on company dollar and all the business we do in that hyper-local area. They build a team for there. If it works, great. If not, it's a short-term contract that can be renewed, and they're tasked to have lunches in the area, to be there, and it actually seems to be working. We're opening another office just because of the success we've had with one team.
Great idea.
We've created some sub-brands, including our Metro Urban look and our Luxury look, so that we can respond to the needs of our agents, particularly the newer or younger ones, but we create the branding model down with those sub-brands so that they're still within our company look and feel, but they can do the things they need to do, especially with contemporary properties and other things that may not fit with our business model.
Do you have different marketing strategies for each?
Absolutely.
That's a great idea, too. Wonderful. That's good. Lots of good ideas. Again, we're going to distribute these later. Next topic is, what are you doing to create an engaging web presence? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about you guys.
Thanks. Yeah. We had a few. One of the things we discussed was reanalyzing your what assets you have in terms of technology, whether that means is what you have outdated or not, and what do you need to be current and relevant to the consumer and your agents. And really important too is the strategic alignment with what vendors, because those, if you make bad choices on those could come to haunt you. We talked a lot about really looking at your human capital assets in your company, your staff, your management team. And like some other folks mentioned, how do you understand what the priorities and goals of your company are and best align the people and their skill sets with those tasks? We agree that the manager role is probably way too general, needs to be more specific, centralize some functions that make sense to and take it off their plate and let them do what they're good at. We also talked on staff about do we, as the leadership and management of the company, represent the consumer? And do our agents represent the consumer? And as we're looking to bring in more people in our company, do we need to have, to look at different, we all boomers and all our customers are Gen Ys, and how do we best represent that and infuse some youth and representation of the marketplace into our companies? We talked about sharing knowledge and content in the company, kind of like what our company is doing on the short sale front, where we take people who have expertise and try and share that knowledge base across the company and help everybody and use those knowledges, whether you have it in the company or like in your case, you bring in some people with expertise on distressed properties and trainers and educate. On education, one of the ideas that we came up in our group was reverse mentoring, of actually having newer people back reverse some of your more seasoned folks, which I thought was a great idea. And another thing was, I know there was discussion yesterday about the brokerage creating business rather than just letting the agents bring it in. And I know something that Gino and he does is he's looking for investment business for distressed properties. So that's a new source. So rather than waiting for the business to come to you, go find it and bring it into the company as a leadership team.
Great.
And hey, Jose, while I was talking, I thought of one more thing. In February, we're going to start to survey every single customer. So that should be interesting, and that should give us some great feedback.
That's good. Excellent. Okay, I didn't miss anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Okay, what are you doing to create an engaging web presence?
Are y'all ready? Okay, are we ready? Not yet? All right. So we're talking about creating an engaging web presence. What we're doing on the web in order to generate either brand recognition or customers or leads or whatever our strategy is with our web presence. So let's start on this side. Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out okay, so as far as creating an engaging web presence, we've got a couple things. One is knowing the consumer, and possibly one thing that we're doing at Ebby that we didn't discuss quite yet, but we have a luxury magazine, and we've got QR codes and that kind of stuff. When they scan that QR code, it goes to a little bit simpler website online than what some of our other QR codes do, because we know the market that we're targeting is 50 and up, 2.5 million and up. So that's one thing that we didn't discuss that we're kind of doing there. Another thing that we discussed that was a big point for us is kind of to know what you don't know. Don't be afraid to look elsewhere and just, figure it out, not be embarrassed to say that you don't know it. Get it done.
That whole issue about having a different website for certain kinds of consumers, like you guys having that multiple brand strategy, because that older consumer is not maybe he's going to be intimidated by.
Right, something that's too advanced. So the one in our luxury magazine is a very scaled down mobile website.
Older version, really
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do.
The way back.
Click here.
So another thing is, well, one thing that we talked about that, we could all do better is when we roll out something, measurement. Measurement is key, not just rolling it out and leaving it there. Try to get metrics, try to follow up, try to see what you can tweak better and keep that project in existence instead of rolling out something that you think is great for the web and not listening to the feedback. We also talked a little bit about survey and how we do it. We didn't have a great answer, but getting the feedback from the consumer and implementing that. The last thing that we talked about that I brought up is as far as my wife gets on Pottery Barn a lot. And they do a great job, and we were kind of talking about how you can do it in the real estate. We haven't figured that out exactly, but on Pottery Barn, if you go on and you add something to the cart and you don't check out, they don't overdo it. The cautious part is to not overdo it. But they'll send a little tickler later. Did you have problems checking out? We noticed you added this to the cart and didn't complete it. Trying to figure out how we can do that on our websites where the consumer gets frustrated, but without every time she goes on to Pottery Barn sending her email, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. So that was kind of our ideas.
And that's an excellent point, because consumers don't want to be sold. They want to engage and develop a relationship, but they definitely don't want to be sold online. That's just a big, big no-no for people.
Yeah, and one thing that we do too on the website, just in this context, is that we look at every page of our website and we look at what's the message. So all of our marketing campaigns are designed for a specific landing page. And each landing page we ask the question, who's the demographic for this landing page? What will they respond to? And then we write the content for that landing page and have all the lead capture, and the design around it's really built for that demographic. So in the context of the whole website, we think, great, this is a big picture. When people land there, we need to build trust if they make it to goodlifeteam.com front page. But there's very little of our marketing that sends people to the homepage. And it's an easy way versus thinking, oh, we need all these different websites. No, you just need one landing page. All right?
You actually need two landing pages. You need a different one for mobile sites.
Well, true. That's true.
So we've spent a lot of time with our mobile sites. Every agent has an m.johncoyle.com page. And the very first button, the top button, is GPS-enabled search. It's find the 5 properties that are closest to you right now, because the smartphone knows where it is, of course. So that's what we've done.
What we've done is we rebuilt our website on WordPress, and it's seen as a blog as opposed to a site, better SEO. And we've given it the ability that you can add listings, and when we add listings on it, they're seen as blog entries rather than just a traditional listing, which gives us great SEO. And we found that's become quite effective quite quickly.
One of the things we've done, we've given our agents the ability to have a rebrand website of our own website. So that enhances our brand, and also it allows them to co-brand with us. I'm going to go back home and I'm going to talk about co-branding, so agents know that they need to co-brand us as well as we are co-branding them, because with 1,600 agents, you just can't know what's going on out there. So that's one of the things that we're doing, and we're going to redo our website and take off some of the clutter. We want to get more Google looking. Not quite that much, because every division wants to have a presence on the homepage. So we have to make everybody happy, so we're going to clean it up, and we're going to enhance the community information on the detail page, which I've always had an aversion to, because I really don't love all the crime statistics, but I guess I'll give in.
Yeah, and then along with it, we're doing a complete web rebranding and redoing anyway as well, and but also with our sub-brands, we're also allowing some of our specialized markets, especially out in horse country and some of the rural and or specialized markets, to sub-brand website. So they go to their own landing page, but they're internetworked with our main site.
Why does somebody go on a real estate website?
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Right.
Exactly.
This is her 100th birthday. She comes to work every day. It's insane.
There you go.
What? Go.
Okay, our group came up with some very innovative ideas here, very similar to what's already been mentioned. Definitely a new website with better back-end lead tracking, tying in mobile. So when somebody lands on your website, on a mobile device, they can actually find locations near them that they can go visit and actually enter their lead information and have a good way to follow up with those leads and how to assign them actually out to agents. We came up with some ideas. Some of us are actually having one of our managers assign them and track the results of an agent close rate on those leads. And if somebody doesn't close a lead, don't give them another one, versus some automated methods. Next is an engagement by basically allowing content either on your mobile site or on your main website to be shared over social networks so that you can share it with your friends. Hey, I found this listing helpful, or hey, I thought you might be interested in this listing, out to Facebook and Twitter, etc. And then really important, a strategy on how to get traffic back to your site, how to get traffic back to your mobile site and increase the volume of leads through social as well as Google. And when I say social, it's Facebook, Twitter, GoWalla, Foursquare, some sort of a content strategy so that, you tell your offices, hey guys, if we follow this strategy, we can actually have an impact, build, a social kind of presence where, people are tweeting about listings, people are posting on Facebook. So your agents, your team leaders, what are they posting on your Facebook page? What are they posting on your Twitter? And what are they writing about in the blog? And let's keep it consistent. And so it's all driving back to that lead form. So next was recruiting and retention of kind of power agents through social media. So how do you kind of engage and recruit agents? Is your Facebook page about recruiting agents, or is your Facebook page about recruiting customers, and what is that blend? I think that keeping it focused on new agents and bringing those in is a big focus of this team. And then next was video. Releasing really high quality video. We talked about that at this last group. What's going on at our company? How can we help our customers? What postings? What is our company doing that's different? Video is very SEO friendly, very fast to get messages out. And that's it from us.
Great, thank you so much. All right, next group.
So consistent with some of the other groups as well, content was a big topic with our group. We talked a lot about video also, listing videos as well as, agent profile videos, neighborhood information, local, hyperlocal content. Lifestyle search, we talked a lot about that too, and incorporating, different aspects in the search, to Jose, your point about search being really relevant. So lifestyle search, adding things like open house, quarterly statistics, what's my home worth. So really engaging things that are related to the main reason people are there, which is search. Also speed and ease of use were a big topic here, making sure that your site is easy to use, clean, simple to navigate, and intuitive, highly intuitive.
Okay, so sort of along what Stephanie just said, certain baseline things, and I think this goes back to what the first group, and that's to get consumers to look at it. Actually, things that you might not even think about. Is your address on there somewhere? It's amazing how many sites don't have basic information that people are looking for. So that would be one thing, and do usability studies, get focus groups. Another biggie that we talked about was really outreach. If you think about a lot of the websites, it's pretty passive. We post the listings up there and we hope they'll come. And one of the things we talked about was really going out and reaching out, sort of what Gino said earlier about the investor buyers, but going out, and the example that we were talking about was, every year when NAR does their home buyer survey, last couple of years, 20% of the buyers were single women. So what if you had, for example, a section on your site that was totally geared to single women, and it was everything from, security issues to handyman to, excuse me, to do things, financial planning, anything that would be sort of a lifestyle thing, and then that's how they find you through Google when they search for that kind of thing. You could do the same thing with any sort of, different first-time buyers, luxury buyers. You could go the gamut. So you're really finding a way to make communities on your website, and then it's sort of in the course of that they find their homes. They start having loyalty to you as a company because you care about them and their way of life. So and from a financial situation, the beauty of that too is then when you get leads from that, that's company generated business that you can charge a referral fee on to your agents. So it's a way to monetize that as well, and it's a way to involve your your agents excuse me, who may specialize in those certain different groups as well. Another thing was this sort of goes along the same way. Think about what somebody wants to do on your site and focus on that. And it's almost like thinking of your site as a bunch of apps as opposed to a website, So, I mean, I heard a speaker last spring and started thinking, if more desktops are going to be here, or excuse me, more mobiles than devices than desktops in a few years, we need to be thinking about, is the website going to be an obsolete thing? Is it more going to be just a bunch of apps out there that we need to be thinking about? And then the last thing was just educating, just making sure that a lot of consumers don't even understand the way our business really works, and doing more education on the site. So.
All excellent ideas. One other important distinction is when someone goes to your site, they're trying to figure out where they want to live next. So the search is important, but all these things that you're talking about in terms of submarkets and in terms of neighborhoods is important because before they buy the house, they want to know about the neighborhood and pictures and all that kind of stuff, so that's also real important. We have 3 more topics, but time for only 2. The next topic is what you're doing to drive internet traffic, which pretty much we've covered here. The one thing that we didn't talk about is how you're responding to internet leads. So why don't we talk about that real quick, and then we'll go to the next 2 topics for the regular session. So who wants to talk about how they're driving internet leads right now? Oh, I'm sorry, responding to internet leads. Anybody? You need 10 minutes?
1 second. Basically, we distribute them to our managers. We have 9 offices, so it's on a rotation basis, and it's a second level of accountability because if you have one person, sometimes you just don't know. So it goes to the manager. The manager distributes it via email, and some of the managers will call on top of it. Most of the agents have email through their phones, and they do have actually 30 minutes, which I think is a little long to respond and acknowledge. And then they go into a back door in our website and actually click a tag that confirms that they've actually made a contact or tried to reach the party. So.
How are you tracking this?
We're tracking it through our internet, through our website, actually, and the manager also accounts on their end. So.
And you wanted to talk about agents, right?
Sure. And I don't know if everybody knows what Jewish faith healing is. If you think you feel sick, let me tell you how I feel. It has a lot to do then with, we're always complaining about agents and how they don't respond. If you don't think they respond, you should see what the mortgage people do. And they're all in distant profit centers when you think about it. They're all located in somebody's office, and they're lined up just like agents, and they don't respond. I had a situation which some of you may recognize. I had 40,000 square feet at my headquarters. I'd reduced it down to 24,000. We still were wandering around, and so I brought in some loan agents to work directly off the web, off our leads. And what we did is we had developed a technology that simply split the lead between the mortgage agent and the agent. And 95% of the time, the mortgage agent got there first, because that's all they were doing. That's their full-time job, is to get to that person and start talking to them about what they're doing. And it proved very, very successful. So it's not a great idea. It's an organic idea that sort of grew out of that. And then what happened was that we started to get the agents to submit their database to our call center. I don't recommend any of this, by the way, unless you have a call center professional, because that's a science, it's not an art. These guys are very scientific, and the way they have to run call center people is different than what we do as a profession. So it's a real down and dirty business, but it's worked very, very well. And now what we have is we have agents
submitting their database, 500, 1,000 people, and they'll be called at night on behalf of the agent. So we're generating leads back to the agents for free. There's some really interesting things that started to happen, which is one, when we did the conversion, we had people calling on behalf of people. They submitted databases of people they'd fired and forgot to take them out of their database. And actually, we were finding people who were buying houses with our agents who the agents had fired. So it's a real interesting kind of process. The second piece was that we actually, as we track all these leads now, we see that the agents really don't follow up. They don't, it's not even that they don't respond, they're not even telling the truth that they responded. So we actually had situations where we had people calling and saying, what am I, chopped liver? I don't hear from anybody. I actually had somebody buy 2 houses in a week from a different agent. Now, unfortunately, that was an office with 4 people that not only have 3 people in the office because the person who was caught at it was so embarrassed he left and went with someone else. But the process itself is very important because I believe telephony is naturally connected to this web presence. And if you can't talk to someone, then you're just simply living on the internet. I think there's a problem there. Or as I like to say, 100,000 leads and not 1 mortgage. That's a bad gravestone sign.
The irony is that 75% of consumers will use the first person that calls them back, and nobody's calling them back or following up, like Ed says.
We have a pretty substantial call center already in place. We've had it for about 9 years. What's happened was we started with about a 1% conversion to a minimum of 5. We have some offices that are doing 14% conversion rate. I think the difference is that the leads are scrubbed. And so that when the agent gets them, they view it as something valuable instead of something that they have to plow through to find a good one. That makes it very convenient. So therefore, the agents are lined up for it. Jim did a very significant thing a couple years ago. He hired an outside team to call the supposedly dead leads that were handed back by the associates. 35% of the dead came to life in 60 days and had bought a home from somebody else. So we believe that there's probably, our conversion rates, if they're done right, ought to be about 30%, not 5% or 8%, or the industry average about 1.5%. The key here is to respond back to the consumer as quickly as possible. So we have a call center where 0 call waiting is the accepted standard, is the only accepted standard. And the response time to get back to email leads is 3 minutes. It's the only way that we can capture the customer. The challenge we're finding out is that this customer is an early customer. They're not really ready, willing, and able to buy now. So you better have an incubation process in place to hold on to them until they are ready, and to allow the agents to do that is the biggest mistake. So the company has to have incubation back with this.
Excellent points. And again, all this investment in driving traffic and engaging traffic is out the window if you don't have some sort of process to respond. Okay, we've got 15 minutes left, I've been told, so we've got time for one more topic. Would you rather have ideas about how to build bench strength in your management team, or how to recruit the agent of the future? Agent of the future, okay, go for it. 10 minutes.
Okay.
There is no agent of the future, they're agents.
Okay. We had a bunch of ideas over here. The first was just calling and focusing your recruiting efforts on younger agents. That's actually part of your integral strategy for recruiting. The next was actually working on a value proposition for younger agents, and then focusing on internships in local colleges and using the younger agents that are performing well to go out there and actually recruit on college campuses. People that are more technologically savvy, going out there and talking to other people kind of in their own age bracket is a very effective way of recruiting people. The next was using good reviews from your customers. So a lot of times you might have a customer set that's younger than maybe the agent they're working with, but that kind of good feedback from them actually will help you recruit younger agents. If you say, look, you know, there's great people out there that you can work with, that you can really identify with, they'll talk to their friends about how great their experience was, and that can also help you recruit people. Next thing is that you have to have systems that are just as good as what younger people and more technologically savvy people expect. So some other industries have, more advanced ways of tracking leads, or might have a more buttoned-up approach to social media. And you're never going to be able to recruit a younger agent or more technologically savvy person if you don't have systems that can compete. In the same vein, branch managers, training and education, that you just make sure that branch managers out in the field actually understand technology on some level. You spend a lot of time and focus making sure that they can actually communicate in a meaningful way with the younger people in their office and the more technologically savvy people in their office.
Excellent. Maria, you're speaking of script. You recruit for a living. What is the agent of the future looking for? Come on. What is the agent of the future looking for?
You took all the agent of the future is looking for that forward-thinking company, that boutique kind of feel, that home away from home environment. They want to be mobile in terms of being able to work wherever. So when they go into an office, they don't want the traditional corner office as we talked about. They want that Starbucks wine bar environment. So you want to make it easy for them to walk in, have a place to meet with their clients or the mortgage person if they need to, but also make it where they're mobile, because real estate is a mobile industry now, and it has been for a long time. Your websites, while they're great to attract new to the business, better places to be working right now is in Facebook, on Active Rain, on your blogs. That's where this generation is going. They're in those social sites. It's the Rotary Club of the past. It's the, the YMCA or whatever. They're there in those social spaces, those venues. And so in order to attract them, you have to be out there as well. And you have to be engaging them with content to help them do their business better if they choose this. The other thing is that this younger generation, we tend to find in my company that people like to know what it's like in a career. 1 out of every 5 job seekers wants to know what a career is like before they actually make a move. So allow them the opportunity to assess themselves, not just take a test, assess to what their core competencies are, and talk to them about what you can do to help them be successful. And also share with them, if they're not going to be successful in this venue, you don't think so, help them. If they want to get their license, put them in that licensing company and help them layer their income, bring their friends as referrals. So they want to know if they're going to be successful. And if you tell everybody they're going to be successful and you don't help them be successful, you're just putting a black mark on your head every single time. What else, guys? Did we cover it? Okay.
Thank you. You guys want to start?
Build communities within your companies. The wine lovers group, the golfers. One of the hottest brokers in North America the last 10 years is At Properties in Chicago. They don't have traditional offices, office managers, and they're hugely focused on recruiting, and they are hugely a young company, young agents dominantly. Average age 37 or something. They build communities. They have the wine group, the sailing group, they have this group. Pam had a great idea, it just clicked. Within your company Facebook page or LinkedIn, you can use either one to build groups and invite your agents into that group and put money and time into it to support the building of these communities. The young generation particularly want to belong, that a group of people with like interests out in addition to work. And that's how they build their glue. So that's our idea.
At my company, we talk about, we don't have sales meetings very frequently. So, but on our recruiting blog, we talk about we don't have weekly sales meetings, save the gas, blah, blah, blah. But we have thousands of meetings every day, and they're just micro meetings. It's agents zipping back text messages back and forth with their managing brokers or their development manager or whoever they need to talk to, but they're in constant communication. We facilitate where agents can send leads to each other via hotline, and it's very visible, and they can see it, and they'll say, "I'll grab it," and somebody say, "I got that lead," and it's just there seems like there's a lot of activity going on, so it seems to work out pretty well. Our last actual sales meeting was last June. Our Our next one is next month. So it'll be at Verizon Wireless Center, and we're going to have a big meeting. But we just try to keep away from the monotony of lots of meetings and have big ones when we do it. So.
I think the operative word is fun. You got to have fun, and you got to have an environment where you're doing those fun things. So that would be one thing, and you know, whether it's, you know, a little putting contest that you have going on over on the side. We're doing that in our office, you know. Or the other thing is just viral. It's if you can, you know, you got to start somewhere. Get a few of these younger people, and they will bring their friends. And Maria's got a great idea. Even if it's through a you know, a licensed holding company, you can get a little bit of activity going that way. You talked about your circular.
Oh. We have an office that when you walk in, it says Starbucks proudly served here, which I thought was rather interesting. But we need to move away from hierarchical structure and move into circles. Young people do not like structure and hierarchy. They like circular management. So this whole collaboration idea is very, very important. I'm watching some of the competition do a much better job at attracting young people. And when you look at it, they have a style and a tone and a flavor that's very collaborative. And the younger people gravitate towards that naturally.
Obi? All right. We've said a lot of the things that you guys have said, but one of the things was understand the differences between generations. Have people come in and teach, coach your managers and staff on what the difference in the generations are. Let's see, we said slight change in branding to help attract them. Create the environment, I think that's been said, to give them an environment they want to work in and tools that they can succeed. And then instead of waiting around for them to come and be attracted by you, go into different businesses, places like Nordstrom's. You know, you got a lot of 25 to 35-year-old people that are great salespeople who just need a little bit of push to get into our industry. Gino taught at a community college for a real estate specific course. So that's a pretty good way to also attract the younger people.
Perfect. Thank you.
Where'd you go?
I talked about how we've created the hyper-local team, so what we try to do is get them involved in the community. We went to a coffee house next to a train station that commutes to Manhattan, and we bought a bunch of cups of coffee, and we printed labels for the cups, and a few times every day, one of the cups has a label that says, given to you by the Jordan Barris Maplewood team. Maybe you're looking to buy, maybe you're looking to sell, maybe you want a funner place to work. And yeah, we use the word funner.
Carolyn pointed out something interesting, that if you look around at the agents who are in the business right now, most of them got in 20, 30 years ago when they were the stay-at-home mom or the trailing spouse and they didn't need to bring an income. Whereas today, everybody needs 2 incomes to survive, and so they don't have the luxury of having 6 months to ramp up. So that's just a fundamental challenge that we need to address with any of our recruiting. The second thing that's been mentioned by a bunch of people, have fun. You know, the youngest generation, the millennials, they're used to getting a trophy for 18th place in the swim meet. They look, you know, they want constant, you know, you guys are a natural, you're the greatest. We've moved away from hiring, you know, great speakers to come in and do a whole day program, to have them do some of it, and then we do panels, and we get cross-generational people. We get some of our youngest, least experienced people on those panels to talk about stuff that they know about Facebook or whatever. And they just love the fact that they're on stage in front of, you know, the 300 people in the company, and it really makes them, it bonds them to us. We got to keep those bonds tight as they're ramping up and becoming more successful, and then they will bring their friends, and we do make it a fun environment and try and keep it like that. And we also, one final thing that the communities that Steve talked about, we have a droid group that meets, and it just kind of, one of our youngest guys popped up and said, well, I'll teach you guys how to use your droid. So we have a smartphone group that meets in every office once a week, and it's kind of an impromptu. They get together around lunchtime and exchange ideas, new apps and things like that. So we facilitate those kind of things.
They went already. All right, guys, that was great. Oh, Stephanie.
I wanted to add one thing really quickly. Steve mentioned App Properties. I wanted to just share something that they do that I think is pretty remarkable. Is they have an improv group, which I think is brilliant because that's what agents do, right? So they get them together, and it's a great way to create culture, and it's a social thing. But it also gets the agents comfortable on their feet and reacting in any environment, and it's a big hit with that group. So.
Well, thanks, everybody. Lots of great ideas, and Debbie's going to wrap it up for us.
Well, we just want to let y'all know we'll have a 10-minute break.